Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Living Beyond Vision with AJ. We are going to be doing a three-part series called Seed Series Podcast. And this series is about God's seed versus Satan's seed. So we're going to start with part one right now. So God's seed versus Satan's seed. In Genesis 3:15, it says, "And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel." Let's go. Okay, let's you can pause this video to read the fair use disclaimer. Okay? Let's continue. Okay, there is a parable of the weeds, which are Satan's seed, that Jesus told in Matthew 13. And I am going to read that to you. I'm going to get my glasses because that's going to set the foundation, okay? So, in Matthew 13:24, Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from?" "An enemy did this," he replied. The servants asked him, "Do you want us to go and pull them up?" "No," he answered, "because while you are pulling the weeds, you may uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time I will tell the harvesters, 'First, collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned. Then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn.'" Then he left the crowd and went into the house. His disciples came to him and said, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field." He answered, "The one who sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed stands for the people of the kingdom, which means God's kingdom, God's people, God's seed. The weeds are the people of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. So the weeds are sown by Satan the devil, and those are seeds, okay? And those, we're going to talk about what a seed is on the next clip. Actually, I have tea, so go ahead and get something to drink, grab a snack, and enjoy this podcast, okay? Relax, sit back, and enjoy. Okay, seed. A metaphorical sense, family seed often refers to the legacy, traits, or qualities passed down through generations within a family. Similar to how a seed holds the potential for growth and development, specifically in the Bible, it can also represent offspring, especially those who are considered part of a godly lineage, and also those who are considered part of an ungodly lineage. Okay, so offspring, children, people, lineage. So let's talk about enmity, because God said that there would be enmity between the two seeds. So let's see what that means. Enmity is in Strong's lexicon, it's pronounced ave, and the definition is hostility and hatred. It means hostility, okay? So the usage is the Hebrew word ave primarily denotes a deep-seated enmity or hostility. This is deep-seated, okay? Deep-seated. It is used to describe the animosity or hatred that exists between individuals or groups. In the biblical context, it often refers to the spiritual or moral conflict between good and evil, as well as interpersonal conflicts. So, this enmity between the two seeds, I wanted to talk about that just for a moment. Now, even before you knew that you were God's seed, Satan knew that you were God's seed. And his people, his seed, because they're filled with demonic spirits and so forth, could also see that you were good, you were of God. And many times, maybe even on a daily basis, when you're out in the world, you're looked at. And I've seen so many videos where people say, yeah, people just stare at me when I walk into the room. They gaze at me. They look at me funny. People hate me for no reason. I didn't do anything to them, and they just are so mean to me and hateful. And that is because you are of God's seed, and that is the enmity that you are feeling because they are not of God's seed and they can see that you are and they hate you for it. And that's why you get that backlash. That's why you get that hatred. You didn't do anything. You get the looks when you walk into the grocery store. They turn and look at you and stare at you and gaze at you like, with deep-seated hatred, and you don't know where it's coming from, and it's uncomfortable. But you can take comfort in knowing that you are of God's seed, and that is why this is happening, okay? Now let's talk more deep dive into the woman's seed versus the Satan seed on the DNA structure, a cellular level. Okay, so the woman's seed, DNA, the molecule inside cells that contains the genetic information needed for a person and most other organisms to develop and grow and is passed from one generation to the next. So you can see how complex the woman's seed is. It has chromosomes, it has a nucleus, okay? So the structure of DNA, most DNA is found inside the nucleus of a cell, where it forms the chromosomes. Chromosomes have proteins called histones that bind to DNA. DNA has two strands that twist into the shape of a spiral ladder called a helix. Okay, it's called a helix. DNA is made up of four building blocks called nucleotides. And it's interesting that it's made up of four building blocks because four is the earthly number in the Bible. Okay, the earth is on four pillars. Four always denotes to like earth. So, um, these building blocks are called adenine, which is A, thiamine, which is T, guanine, which is G, and cytosine, which is C. The nucleotides attach to each other, A with T and G with C, to form chemical bonds called base pairs, which connect the two DNA strands. Genes are short pieces of DNA that carry specific genetic information. Okay, so now we can see how complex the woman's seed is with all its beautiful parts. Okay, so now let's talk about the serpent seed, which is also called naked DNA. Now, the reason I came to learn this is because I kept hearing naked, naked this, naked that, and it just resonated with my spirit, and Holy Spirit had me do research. And I dug and I found naked DNA. Okay. The place where I kept hearing naked, I can't really say on here, but um, it's very significant for the meaning of what it, the naked DNA. So, naked DNA refers to DNA that is not packaged within a viral or bacterial vector, meaning it's not protected by its proteins or other molecules. It's used in various applications like research, gene therapy, and DNA vaccines. Naked DNA can be delivered directly into cells by methods like injection and electroporation. So we can see that this cell does not have a nucleus. It lacks a nucleus. Chromosomes, I don't see chromosomes. Look at the shape of it. It's so different than the woman's seed, the real DNA. Okay, let's continue. So, the definitions of DNA and naked DNA. So, DNA is considered eukaryotes. The Hebrew translation for eukaryote is eukaryota. It can also be transliterated as eukaryotum. This term refers to organisms whose cells have membrane-bound nucleus and other organelles. Like there's like little other organs within that DNA structure within the nucleus. Okay? Cellular organisms that have a true nucleus and membrane-bound organelles characterized by their complex cell structure and their genetic material organized into linear chromosomes within the nucleus. Eukaryotes encompass a wide range of organisms, including plants, animals, people, fungi, and protists. Their cells contain various membrane-bound organelles, such as mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum, which perform specialized functions. Okay, so now let's talk about the naked DNA. Prokaryotes. The naked DNA is called prokaryotes. The Hebrew translation for prokaryotes is prokaryotum. This term is derived from the Greek pro, meaning before, and chiron, meaning nucleus, meaning before nucleus, which describes the lack of a distinct nucleus in prokaryotic cells. Cellular organisms that lack a true nucleus and membrane-bound organelles, characterized by their simple cell structure, which with their genetic material, typically a circular DNA molecule located in the cytoplasm. Prokaryotes include bacteria and archaea. Remember archaea. We're going to discuss archaea pretty soon. And they are considered the earliest forms of life on Earth. Despite their simplicity, prokaryotes exhibit remarkable adaptability and can be found in diverse environments, playing essential roles in various ecological processes. Well, the prokaryotes include bacteria and archaea, and they are considered the earliest forms of life on Earth. Okay, the earliest forms of life are pronucleus life, which these naked DNAs, we know that the Satan seed comes from Satan, right? And all, his fallen angels, they came, and we're going to talk about that too. They had children, and they were here. All of them were here before people, okay? Before the nucleus seed. which is man. So it's very interesting that this naked DNA, prokaryotes, were before the nucleus and were the earliest forms on Earth. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so Venn chart. Venn chart, um, prokaryotes versus eukaryotes. Now, there is some, you can pause and read the differences, and what, the things that they both have. Um, but it's very interesting. So this is angel and human DNA mixed together, is what this is. And they have some of the both similarities because they're mixed together, and then you have more prokaryote um, features and then more eukaryote features. Okay, and then there's some of both. So you can see again the picture of the two cells that look different, that one's more complex, one has a nucleus, the other one does not. And what's interesting about Venn chart is these people, right, they will tell you stuff, they talk about it. It's like hidden in plain sight. So they're going to tell you without telling you. And do you remember when Kamala Harris, I don't know if you saw any of her videos when she said this, but she would say this quite a bit. She said that she loves Venn charts. I love Venn charts. I just love Venn charts, okay? So I believe that, and this is my own, personal belief and my observation, because I know how they talk in codes. um Venn charts, she was referring to like, yeah, this is like we overlap, the DNA structure on the Venn chart. I believe that's what she was alluding to. But that's my opinion. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so here are examples of eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Um, You can stop and read this as well. I'm not going to read every single example, but we have plants, we have fungi, protists, and we have animals, and humans are included in the eukaryotes DNA. Now we have the prokaryotes, the naked DNA, and that would be bacteria and archaea. And again, I want us to focus on archaea, which we will be going into. Okay, so DNA without the horizontal lines. So what makes that DNA naked? Okay. DNA without the horizontal lines or structures associated with histones or other proteins is often considered naked DNA. Naked DNA refers to DNA that is free from the complex packaging within a cell's nucleus or other structures like ribosomes. It's essentially the DNA molecule itself without the surrounding proteins and other modifications that help organize it within a cell. So the naked DNA is the DNA without the horizontal lines, okay? And uh, there are no histones. In the eukaryote cells, DNA is tightly wound around proteins called histones, forming structures called nucleosomes. These nucleosomes then coil further to form chromosomes. Naked DNA lacks these histones DNA interactions. Free floating DNA. So naked DNA can exist outside of the nucleus, either in the cytoplasm or released from cells. This free floating DNA can be taken up by other cells in a process called horizontal gene transfer. Okay, so what are these used in? Techniques they're used in. Naked DNA is used in various scientific and medical procedures such as DNA vax and gene therapy, where it's introduced directly into cells without the protective structures of a virus or cell. In essence, Naked DNA is a simplified form of DNA without the usual protein packaging found within a cell's nucleus or other structures. Okay, so see the picture of the DNA, the horizontal lines connecting the two backbones, and we're going to talk about that next more. So that's what's missing from the naked DNA, those horizontal bonds. Okay, nucleobases. So the two DNA strands are known as polynucleotides, as they are composed of simpler monomeric units called nucleotides. Each nucleotide is composed of one of four nitrogen containing nucleobases: cytosine C, quinine G, adenine A, or thymine T, a sugar called deoxyribose, and phosphate group. The nucleotides are joined to one another in a chain by covalent bonds known as the physodiester linkage between the sugar of one nucleotide and the phosphate of the next, resulting in an alternating sugar-phosphate backbone. So those straight lines on each side, those the vertical lines going up and down, those are called sugar-phosphate backbone. The nitrogenous bases of the two separate polynucleotide strands are bound together according to base pairing rules: A with T and C with G, with hydrogen bonds to make double-stranded DNA. The complementary nitrogenous bases are divided into two groups: the single-ring pyrimidines and the double-ringed purines. In DNA, the pyrimidines are thymine and cysteine. The purines are adenine and quinine. So we can see it's very structured. You have the sugar phosphate backbones, and then you have the horizontal lines, the A with the T, the G, C, and so forth. And this is taken from Wikipedia, by the way. Okay, so let's continue. So now let's get in deeper with the naked, okay? So you just saw that the naked DNA does not have those horizontal lines, correct? So minus the horizontal lines, what do you get? You get two vertical lines, So where else do you see two vertical lines, right? So in Genesis 3:11, which is triple 11, it would equal 33. Genesis 3:11 says, "And he said, Who told thee that thou was naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat?" So the first mention of naked is in Genesis 3:11, where they disobeyed God and they didn't, they say they ate of a fruit. That's just metaphoric. It's actually they had relations with Satan, the devil himself, with the serpent. And so now they were aware that they're naked. So this is, and then there's the 33. That's 33. And we're going to talk about that more, the 33. And so right from Genesis, it talks about, okay, now this naked seed has been introduced. This seed that was sown, and we just saw that in Genesis 3:15, right? God's seed versus Satan's seed. So it was introduced here in 3:11 as the naked seed. This is the naked seed. Satan's seed was planted right here. Okay. So now in let's read Revelation 3:17. That also equals to 11. That's that, that double vertical lines. That's that naked DNA basically, or triple eight, because three, 7 and 1 is 8, and then 3 times that with triple eight, 888, right? And that means something. Triple eight is the number of, that is the number of the beast system. It's in Daniel. You can watch my other videos that talk about the beast system, and it talks about the number 8. Okay. So it says there, because thou sayest, I am rich and increased with goods, and have need of nothing, and knowest not thou that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and what? And naked. So he's referring to God, Satan's seed. Jesus is talking to Satan's seed and their attitude and what they really are. And he refers them to being naked because, again, it's the naked DNA. So, from the beginning of Genesis all the way to Revelation, it's mentioned again. In Genesis, the naked seed, in Revelation, the naked seed. The entire theme of the Bible is God's seed versus the naked seed, okay? The eukaryotes versus the prokaryotes. Okay, so DNA strand minus the horizontal lines equals 11 equals 2 pillars. So in the picture next, over here on the screen, on the left, you'll see the number 11 because it looks like 11. And then you'll see at the bottom picture is that DNA strand. Those are the sugar backbones, the phosphate, I think I said sugar backbones, without the horizontal lines. And then at the upper left is, where do you see that? You see the 2 pillars, right? It's the 11. It's the naked DNA. They are showing you, oh, where of the naked DNA. And you know where that is. That's Freemasonry. Um, that is what you'll see in all their like images. That's what they're connected to. And then you have the black and white checker floor. You have at the top, right in the center, you'll see the eye, right? That's the eye of Lucifer. And that 5-pointed star, that is the uh it's the pentagram, hexagram, I think it's called. It's the 5-pointed star, and we know what the 5-pointed star is, okay? Um, and then that's worshiping Lucifer with the star pointed up. If it's pointed down, it means the Baphomet. If it's pointed up, it's like supposed to be of more, Lucifer. Okay. So then there's the G, and we're going to talk about what the G means in a second. And then there's the heart. Um, Denote and love. I don't know. I have to dig into the heart more because I believe that hearts have a deeper meaning. I haven't done deep research on that yet, but I will. It's all symbols of things. Okay, so what that is denoting right here is that Satan is looking down. So that's his eye looking down at the G, the generations, and of the naked DNA, because there's the 2 pillars of the naked DNA. That is referencing naked DNA. And he's looking down at his naked DNA creations, okay, his seed. He's overseeing it. Okay, let's continue. So let's peel back the onion layers on this. So the G meaning, so now you can see on this apron, we know who this belongs to. There's the eye again of Lucifer looking down, and then there's the square and compass, and in the center of that usually is the G, right? So peeling back the layers on this is that G, some say that G stands for God. Some say that G stands for geometry. Some say that G stands for the great architect. Um, but some say that it stands for generative principle. So, and it could stand for all those things, okay? But within certain Scottish Rite teachings, in these contexts, the G can be interpreted as representing the generative principle, which is the source of all creation and perfection. So, whose creation, though? Whose creation? Um, G, generative, having the power of function of generating, originating, producing, reproducing. Um, G on apron. The G on the apron is covering the private parts. Okay. So there's that. The square and the compass is actually the SCX Act. And that is like, if you look at it closer, you can see it. Heavenly male and earthly female, right? Heavenly male and earthly female. The all-seeing eye at the top is Lucifer watching over the production of his seed. And, this is fact. This is fact. The Bible said your seed versus God's seed versus Satan's seed. It is a fact. Okay, so Daniel 2:43 says, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. So we know that started with serpent in the Garden of Eden. That was the first naked seed planted, right? And then it continued with um, the angels looking down. They liked what they saw. The women were beautiful. They saw that the women were beautiful. They came down, took on bodies, married them, had babies, had hybrids, had Nephilim, okay? Nephilim, Satan's seed, naked DNA, okay? In Genesis 3:21, um, it says, unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skins and clothe them because now they were naked. So it has more than one meaning. Okay, yeah, now they saw that they were naked. Now they saw, oh, we don't have any clothes on, so we're going to cover, right? So, but it also had a dual meaning because it also is saying that, okay, now here's the naked seed is introduced into the world. All right? So Adam and Eve knew that they were naked after their encounter with the serpent, so God made them coverings. So let's continue. Okay, so now we're going to talk about archaea more. Okay, so this is so interesting, everyone, and I'm so grateful that Jesus showed me this and the Holy Spirit guided me to all this information. It's to know is the most wonderful thing. Okay, because the Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge, but the knowledge is abundant and God gives you the knowledge. The deep secrets of the Bible, the deep information, it's like treasured gold, and you have to dig for it and pray for it, and Jesus will reveal it to you. Holy Spirit will reveal it to you. It's amazing. Okay, so archaea. The archaea are a group of single-celled organisms, okay? The name comes from the Greek, guess, old ones, okay? It comes from the Greek old ones. They are a major division of living organisms. Archaea are tiny, simple organisms. They were originally discovered in extreme environments, but are now thought to be common to more average conditions. Many can survive at very high, over 80 degrees Fahrenheit, or very low temperatures, or highly salty, acidic, or alkaline water. Some have been found in gushers, black smokers, oil wells, and hot vents in the deep ocean. Recent research has found ammonia-eating archaea in soil and seawater. So, Genesis 6 says, "And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose." Right? I just talked about that. "And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also so that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown." So the Bible says they were mighty men which were of old, and these archaea are the old ones. These archaea, these are the naked DNA. The naked DNA are the archaea, are the old ones, are the mighty men of old, are the Nephilim, are Satan's seed. Okay? Let's continue. Okay, so Asgard Archaea. Asgard Archaea are a group of prokaryotes, specifically archaea, that are the closest known relatives of eukaryotes. Yeah, they're the closest known relatives of eukaryotes because they're hybrids. Okay? Like bacteria, Asgard archaea are single-celled organisms that lack a nucleus, no nucleus, and membrane-bound organelles. That's why they're naked DNA, no nucleus. Asgard, enclosed of the Aesir, court of As, is known of the 9 realms in Norse mythology. So this is mythology speaking right now, but mythology comes from the real life, okay? Home to the tribe of deities known as the Aesir, Asgard lies at the top of Yggdrasil's highest branches, and the only thing connecting Asgard to Midgard is the mystical rainbow bridge Bifrost. Okay, again with diverting the rainbow that God gave us in a covenant. Okay, at the center of Asgard lies the bountiful field of, I can't pronounce that word, I'm very sorry. There the Aesir meet to feast, make revelry, and discuss important issues. The male gods meet in a hall called Glorshmir, the goddesses in the hall Vingolf. In the science fiction series Stargate SG-1 and its spin-off series Stargate Atlantis, Asgard is the name of the highly advanced fictional race of beings who are extraterrestrials in origin. Okay, so they're just talking about the Nephilim. They're just talking about naked DNA. They're just talking about Satan's seed here and putting it a spin on it. And if you don't know, Stargate, there is this current administration is putting a whole thing together, Stargate. You can look at my other video that talks about it, how they are gathering up a huge database. They're very proud of it. There's other countries involved in getting this together because they want this huge database of everyone. But please watch my other video. It'll talk about that more. Okay. In Norse mythology, the universe was thought to have 9 realms. And it's interesting that they say 9. They're using 9 because 9 is God's number. It's the number of God's kingdom. It's the 144,000 that equals out to 9. Okay. And when you talk about New Jerusalem, the width, the height, the breadth, all those numbers add up to 999. That is the last number. That is the last number. That's the last kingdom that will be standing on the earth. The kingdom previous to that, which is Satan's kingdom, which is the Antichrist kingdom, is 8. That is the Antichrist kingdom, but the 9 kingdom is going to crush it and end it forever and stand forever and ever and ever. So that is interesting that they use 9 right there. Okay, just a little side note. All right. What worlds? The gods lived in Asgard, which could not be reached except by walking across the rainbow. The frost giants, and then they called them the frost giants, and the Nephilim were the giants, the mighty men of old. They were giants on the earth. Okay. Lived in a place called Jotunheim, which means giant realm. A cold, dark place called Nephilim, and here you go, Nephilim, was ruled by Hel, who was the daughter of Loki. It was the eventual home of most of the dead. Located somewhere in the south was the fiery realm of Nespalim and the home of the fire giants, again with the giants. Between Asgard and Nephilim was Midgard. Now, Midgard is the world of men. That's what they're naming, calling the world of men, of real people of God's seed. They're calling that Midgard. Okay, so let's continue. So, where do they live? Where do the Archaea live? The naked DNA people, where they come from. Okay. Hydrothermic vents. Typical environments from which pure cultures of archaeal species have been isolated include hot springs, hydrothermic vents, solfataras, salt lakes, soda lakes, sewage digesters, and the rumen. Okay, hydrothermic vents are cracks in the ocean floor where heated, mineral-rich material is expelled. They are commonly found near volcanic activity, especially along mid-ocean ridges where tectonic plates are moving apart. These vents support unique ecosystems, including specialized organisms that utilize chemosynthesis to produce energy. In chemosynthesis, carbon dioxide acts as a source of carbon for the creating organic molecules like glucose, which serves as food for the chemosynthetic organisms. So these archaeas are chemosynthetic organisms as well. These organisms, like bacteria, use the chemical energy from inorganic compounds. Listen, chemical energy from inorganic compounds like hydrogen sulfide and methane to convert carbon dioxide into organic matter. This process is similar to how plants use sunlight and carbon dioxide in photosynthesis, but chemosynthesis relies on chemical reactions instead. The vent supports many organisms, including worms, yeti crab, shrimp, some fish. Certain octopus species rely on hydrothermal vents for breeding and nesting. Unlike most ecosystems which rely on sunlight for energy, life at hydrothermal vents relies on chemosynthesis, where bacteria convert chemicals from the vents into energy. So they're converting chemicals into energy. Here's a side note. The prefix chemo means chemical or related to chemistry. It is derived from the Greek word chemia, which means chemistry. So in medical terminology, chemo is often in the term chemotherapy, which refers to the treatment of cancer using chemical drugs. Okay. And I want to touch on these crustaceans in the ocean, like crab, shrimp, things of that nature. The Bible tells us not to eat crustacean. It says that we're only to eat fish with scales. Okay. And I'm thinking now, there's a reason for everything. When God tells us to do something, there's a reason for it. He may say this is the exact reason, but we have to trust him and know that If he's telling me to do this, there's a very good reason and it's for my benefit. So it very well may lead back to the fact that these crustaceans are in direct connection with the naked DNA, and they survive off of each other. So us eating that may be consuming some of that naked DNA, if that makes sense, okay? And that's what I'm thinking. So octopuses, I'm not surprised to hear the octopuses are in this realm because there is, there is the marine kingdom, and I have another video. Watch my video, the sea. The marine kingdom is here, So there is the marine kingdom, and a lot of people are very well aware of that. And octopuses are the marine kingdom. If you watch Disney Channel, there's that octopus. I can't think of the name, but it's the sea witch or whatever. Anyway, um, one of my children saw an octopus in the spirit, and then I really believe that, there's the spirit of the octopus that comes from the marine kingdom. So that's a real thing as well. So it all relates, it's all making sense to me. So let's just continue. So the black smoke, types of hydrothermal vents. So there's black smokers. These vents discharge extreme hot, up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit water, and the mineral-rich fluids create tall chimneys. Okay, and then there's the white smokers. These vents release milky fluids with temperatures ranging from 200 to 330 degrees Fahrenheit. So and we saw in that other photo, previous photo, where I showed you the pillars and everything, there was the white and black checker floor, which is interesting. It's very interesting. And there's white and black smokers. So it may be saying, oh, this is the base that we come from, is these white and black smokers. Because that whole scene is about the naked DNA, their seed. The whole scene is about their seed. Okay. So it reminds me of Revelation 9, and this is just what it reminds me of. I'm not saying this is exactly what Revelation 9 is talking about. It reminds me of this. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a giant, of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. So I'm thinking perhaps like from these hydrothermic vents where there does come smoke, that these things in Revelation 9 might be coming from there in the future. Like this is not there's not just one of these, there's many throughout the ocean, the cracks in the ocean. And we know that the Antichrist rises up out of the ocean. The beast rises up out of the ocean in the book of Revelation. Okay? Let's not forget that. There is the marine kingdom. All right. So, chambers means a large room used the formal or public events, and it also means a private room, especially a bedroom. And these, if you look at the picture, you'll see the smoke rising up. You'll see below the ocean crust is the seawater, and then that red is where the magma chamber is, the magma chamber. So if you take out, it's interesting that if you remove the amma from magma chamber, you get maga chamber. And you know what maga is. We all know what maga is, right? And they meet, and I have seen so many videos where people have experienced, I have never experienced this, but people experience like going down into the marine kingdom or having dreams about the marine kingdom and seeing or being brought down into the marine kingdom and seeing people down there that you see today on earth, politicians, all of it, uh, politicians and celebrities and all sorts of people down there meeting and mingling. Okay, it's a real thing. It's happening. Okay, so let's keep going. So let's talk about phenotypes. So a phenotype is the manifestation of a genome. Genome is its phenotype, which refers to the observable traits or characteristics of an organism that are expressed as a result of its genetic makeup and interactions with the environment. So essentially, the phenotype is the outward expression of the inner genetic information, which is the genome, the genes. Everything that prokaryotes put upon other people contributes to their self-preservation. So we can see their phenotype, their characteristics by what they put upon us and how they live their life. Okay, so let's look at some obsessions of these prokaryotes, which is the archaea species that we just talked about. Here's to name a few of their obsessions that they put upon us. Carbon dioxide emissions. They are so obsessed with carbon dioxide. You can't, there's going to be carbon dioxide taxes. You can't use too much carbon. Electric cars, da da da, da da da, da da da. Don't do this, don't do that. So carbon dioxide negatively impacts the hydrothermal vents. It's not sustainable for them because remember they have the um, chemosynthesis to make carbon dioxide because it helps with their existence. Okay, so they're obsessed with it. All right, sun blocking. They're obsessed with sun blocking. Um, they have sun protection factors in everything. You can't like lotion, and then you have the sun blocking oils and all of the above. Okay, they're obsessed with it, and they don't like going out in the sun. Blah 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 blah. Okay, because their natural dwelling is dark and sunless. The hydrothermal vents. Okay, dark and sunless. That's where they come from. So the sun is detrimental to them, to their skin, and it doesn't even matter of their skin color because I've seen dark-skinned and light-skinned people, very fair-skinned and very dark-skinned people, brown-skinned people who say, I don't like to go out in the sun. I don't want to get dark. I don't want to be in the sun. I don't want to be in the sun. I don't like the sun. I can't take. So it comes in all shapes and colors, okay? This naked DNA, it may be predominantly coming from one aspect, but everybody has it. You know, God's people are in every nation, and Satan's seed is in every nation, okay? Chemosynthesis, chemistry, they're obsessed with chemosynthesis, okay? They put chemicals in everything. You have chemicals in hair products, skincare products, food, chemicals spraying in the air, chemicals in everything, drugs galore, chemicals, 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 chemicals. Everything has chemicals. They're obsessed with chemicals, okay? Chemosynthesis. Okay, crustaceans, seafood, they're in close relation and interdependence with crustaceans in the hydrothermal vents. We're not supposed to be eating crustacean, but that's all. They're obsessed with it. They're obsessed with shrimp. You go to every restaurant, there's shrimp, lobster, mussels, seafood galore. Obsessed. And they make it like it's like delicacies. All right. High end. protein. They lack protein. The naked DNA lacks protein. They're protein deficient. So you have all these diets that they concoct and they put upon you, protein diets, protein this, protein that. Um, the other I can't think of the different names of the different diets that they have, but it's all like obsession. Oh yeah, vegetarianism and all that stuff, veganism, all of that, keto diets. Um, it's unbalanced. And then there's plasma. Did you know that plasma holds a ton of protein? So they are protein deficient, right? So I just watch videos where they have these different organizations that they get plasma, they get your BLOOD, right? Where you donate all of that to people. But there's also one with just donating plasma. And they take your plasma and they will give you tons of money to get your plasma. They want your plasma and they say, oh, you could do it like twice a week or whatever. You could do it, multiple times in the month, and will give you 100 and so much dollars for your plasma, blah, 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 blah. They collect plasma like nobody's business. It's a huge business, a huge business. And that is protein nutrient. And God's people, I know you're not out there giving away your DNA, your plasma, your DNA, your cells, your BLOOD, because that is sacred. Sacred. Okay? So let's continue. So we just went through some of their obsessions, right? But this is the greatest obsession of all. This is their greatest obsession is seed mingling. They want to mingle those seeds. They tried to do this with Jesus. They tried to when they brought they made mingled the seeds with man. The angels came down and had relations with God's people, with humans, and they were mingling that seed. They were trying to taint the seed, the line that Jesus comes through, so that they won't have that pure seed. They wanted to wipe that pure seed out from the earth, right? So that's what they were doing when they came down mingling seeds. And when God saw that everything was bad in the earth, and the only person that was righteous was Noah. So Noah's family, Noah did build the ark, and then God brought upon the earth the flood to just wipe that out. But Noah was the only righteous person found in his family. So what did that mean? Was he was the only, yeah, he was righteous, absolutely, but more so, with another deeper meaning, he had the only pure blood. He was not mingled. His blood was not mingled. He did not have any naked DNA in him. He had pure DNA, eukaryotes, pure DNA. So that is why that his seed remained and the rest of the world, was gone in the flood. But then they're back again because the Nephilim, I don't have the complete answer to how they happened, where the Nephilim went, what did they do? But it's back. The seed is back because it says before and after the Nephilim are here. Okay, and they are here. They are here. The hybrid Nephilim are here today. You see them every day. You talk to them every day. You probably work with them. You probably bump into them at the grocery store. You walk out in the street. You go to a coffee shop. They're there. Okay. So DNA vax, right? So this is a way that they are also mingling seeds. Remember I told you that the naked DNA is used as gene therapy and it can be injected into you, right? So this is how they're doing it. I'm not gonna, this is about a company and I get this from their website. So you stop this and read it and you'll see how they are doing it within this company, okay? Okay, and here's more of their technology. And you can look on their website, and this is the formulation, and you can see the on the left that picture is of a chromosome, right? And they're lacking chromosomes. So it's interesting that they're in you. It's interesting that you see X's everywhere. They do everything for a reason. Everything is relative. Everything connects. They don't do anything without a reason, and they do everything in your face, hidden in plain sight. Okay, so you'll see X's and everything, like the X factor, X this, X that, because they don't have the X. They don't have the X. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so here's another one of their platforms, and you can see it says Placine, right? And and this is how it is. It's like two capital C's in Placine, and so it's Placine CC right in the center means 33 because ABC, ABC, ABC 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3, 3. So, and that, remember, I talked about the 33. We know whose number that is. And we also know in Genesis 3:11, remember where that seed was just first introduced, the naked seed. So this is what it's all about, people. It's about God's seed versus Satan's seed. That is the bottom line. That is what is going on in the world. It's their seed against our seed. It's it's enmity between the two seeds. Okay? But you know who wins in the end, right? God's seed. So we know the ending of the story here. So Leviticus 19:19. Oh, and I just want to say one more thing about that. The past slide I just showed you. We don't ever want to take those into our body. Okay? They are diluting it. They are diluting these things with this naked DNA and in putting it into people's bodies to mingle the seeds. Okay? Don't, no matter what, put that into your body. Okay. Leviticus 19:19 says, Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with the diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed. Neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. So virtually it's saying do not mingle your seeds with their seeds. Okay? We are God's sheep. We do not mingle our seeds with Satan's goat. Okay? We don't do it. So let's continue here. Now, Revelation 12:17, my last point. And the dragon was wroth with whom, I'm going to read that over. Revelation 12:17 says, And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Okay, like I said earlier, The dragon is waging war with God's seed. And again, that's why you get the hate, the hatred. It's the enmity that you're feeling from Satan and his seed. Okay? So, I love you. Jesus loves you. And I hope that you learned something new in this podcast. Please, please, please subscribe to my channel so you can see and hit the post notification so that you can see when I post part two. Part two, and that's going to be Life is in the Center, continuing with the seed. It's very interesting. You don't want to miss it. I love you. God bless you. And I hope you enjoy your day. Bye bye.